Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Curious Competitor Podcast. I'm your host, current New Jersey Devils defenseman, Lexi Carrick. My guest today has a special place in my heart. And I do say that. I love all of my guests. They are oftentimes close friends of mine. And if not, they're definitely people in industries or in business or in sports that I really look up to and admire and learn a lot from through the course of the podcast. But my guest today is my wife, Lexi Carrick. Hoagie's mom, the mother of our child to be. We're going to talk about our pregnancy, our life in hockey, what's been now the last 7 years as we go into our eighth, and some of our goals for what'll be the second half of my career and our hockey life together. Let's do this. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Curious Competitor Podcast. Lexi, my wife, is our guest today. Thank you. Thanks for joining us, hon.
Thanks for having me.
I haven't had an in-person interview yet, so I'm hoping you'll take it decently easy on me.
Yep.
Are you going to just do one-word answers the entire podcast? Is that the best thing we get?
You haven't asked me a good question yet.
All right. When I think of you and us, I think there are really three things that come to mind. Is one, I fell in love with you, I think, for your genuine love for others. Second was your genuine love for me, which I really appreciate. And then third was I really feel that we are a growth-minded couple. And I think that served us really well as we focus today on the aspect of our relationship that involves hockey. Because we don't always talk about it a lot on the podcast. This podcast has been a lot of time for me. Something else to talk about. I talk about hockey all the time. I go and train at the rink from 8 a.m. till 4 in the afternoon and in the summer, and even longer hours during the season. So it's been a good outlet. But what is being married to me, and what is being married to the hockey life like? That's a big question. So I don't know if I have to talk again the rest of the podcast. But the floor is yours.
There's a lot of answers to that question. Let's see. What's it like being married to you?
Yeah, start there.
Well, I would say you're pretty routine oriented. So I kind of know what every day is going to look like. You have a lot of things on your to-do list. And if there aren't a lot of things on your to-do list, you create them. Lots of journaling, lots of reading. Always coffee in the morning that I'm very grateful for. You always make me coffee. Unsure if that will happen once the baby arrives, because I think I will be the first to arise in the morning.
I think we'll both be getting up pretty early. I think this baby's going to, from what I've been told by parents out there, our world's ready to change.
Oh, yeah. I'm just not sure if you'll be like, I need my sleep. I have a game tomorrow.
I'll keep cold brew you can warm up or something in the fridge.
And what's it like being married to the hockey life?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. It's actually really funny. We joked today is draft day. What?
Yeah, day 2. For all my day 2 draftees out there, congratulations. And I remember my draft like it was yesterday, and we weren't quite dating yet, but man, it goes fast.
Well, yeah. And with the draft comes a lot of trades.
Yep.
So you made a joke about being traded, and I was like, you know what? I don't even care. I've been through it enough times. The only thing I would be mad about is the fact that I just physically unpacked everything, and that just means I have to do it again if a trade were to happen. But I think you sort of get used to it. In the beginning, it's the whole thing is exciting, but in the beginning, there's so many dreams, and you envision playing one place for so long, and you know what that would look like, and then it just evolves from there. I mean, our plan has changed how many times over and over. But I think that's a good life lesson, because you can't really plan for the future if you don't know what's going to happen. And it's kept us on our toes. We've got to live in great cities. We've got to meet amazing people. And then on the downside, we've had to leave some of those people and places that we loved. But, you know, you do this for how many years? So it's fun.
Is that what you'd say is the hardest part about being married to me in the hockey life really is the moving and the people in particular that you kind of have to part ways with?
I would say so. Or just in general, like the understanding. It's hard to have a conversation about, being worried about a trade or something with someone that doesn't understand it. So usually talking to a fellow hockey significant other is the place that you can go. Or just like all the questions we've gotten since the pause with the NHL. Everyone just asks the same questions, and I know they care, but I don't have the answers. Neither do you. So answering that's kind of difficult.
I think there is just in life, I know I feel it, personally, I always wanted certainty out of my hockey career. I wanted to, when I was younger, for example, I wanted commitment. I wanted a, Division I scholarship that I could know for certain that with the signed letter of intent or the verbal commitment that I had coming. And, I think the same thing in the NHL career, my NHL career, and it is awarded at some point. And, I've got 1 year left on my contract, and, we'll see what this year brings us. And, but I think you also anticipate and want a good blend of uncertainty in our life. And I think that, there's definitely never a dull moment. It's definitely never not exciting, which I think is, I'm definitely grateful for. I wouldn't say I've been complacent a day in my life. And I think hockey's played a big part of that.
Mm-hmm. I would say the first time you got traded, it was so scary, daunting, nerve-wracking, all of those sort of like not so great emotions. But if that didn't happen, like we wouldn't have done all the amazing things. I have no idea what our life would have looked like there. Do
you want to tell the story of our first trade? So I'll lay the background. I knew I was playing as a Washington Capital, and I'm mostly a Hershey Bear. I broke out with the Capitals in 2013, 2014. Then the next 2 years, I was in the minors most of the time with a couple call-ups. And right before, the 2016 NHL trade deadline, I had a call-up, and I just kind of knew based off some hints I was given, by the staff that I was playing well, and I knew that I was waiver eligible the next year. So there was a good opportunity. I wasn't gonna be with the Caps because they had 7 D-men already signed through the next season again. I think it was Taylor Chorney was the big one, like he had just signed, and I knew right away that there wasn't gonna be much room. And so I immediately started to, through my agency and getting some tips that we might be on the move. And I remember coming home and kind of sharing that with you. And
Am maybe I allowed to tell the full story?
I mean, we can always edit it later, but yeah. So I know that there's a chance I'm getting moved. And so I sort of start to prepare. What I find where I was going to go to all the way with the story was I remember finally getting traded.
Well, I didn't tell the story yet.
All right, go ahead.
Well, you had played a 3-3 that weekend, right? You guys played.
I think it was a 3-3.
2 games back-to-back, 3 games back-to-back, but 2 games in Toronto with the Marlies, and then at home with the Hershey Bears. After that game, we went to dinner with Chandler Stevenson.
Just signed his extension today.
Congrats,
by the way.
Chan.
Congrats, Chan. We're so happy for you, man.
And you guys couldn't decide on what you guys wanted to drink. You couldn't figure out what wine you wanted. And Chandler was like, we'll take 1 bottle of each, please.
We were big shots in Hershey. We were.
Sunday nights are like what you live for in Hershey. You got done with the games. Like you're going to go out to a restaurant. And I wasn't drinking at the time. I was doing a Whole30, my first Whole30. And I was the designated driver. But like the waitress literally put a bottle of wine down in front of you and in front of Chandler. And you guys both drank the bottles of wine. So you were a bottle of wine each. And you got news that Chris Brown had just gotten traded. So we were going to leave dinner, go change because you were still in your suits. Yep. And then go somewhere to say goodbye to the Browns. And we are driving. So we drive home to the house. We change. I think we stopped at Chan's too, maybe. Either way. Somehow we were FaceTiming Chandler's dad for like 30 minutes, had a great time with him. Then we get in the car to go say goodbye to the Browns, and Connor gets a phone call from Minnesota, and he feels good at this point in time. And he answers the phone. He thinks it's
Huge
Brady Shea.
lightweight.
He thinks it's Brady Shea because
I don't know why I thought it was Brady Shea, because I have Brady Shea's number saved.
Ryan Bork had just gotten traded. So you thought he was calling to say like, oh, my buddy just got traded or to Hershey or whatever. So Connor answers and he goes, hey, what's up? And I'm kind of on edge. It's like, it's almost midnight at this point.
Yeah, it was late
it's
at this
like
point.
11:30. Oh, it's nearly midnight. And then I just hear on the other side of the phone, like, Connor, this is Brian McClellan. And I literally pulled over to the side of the road. Chandler's in the back seat. He's like, open the door, open the door, open the door. We all get out of the car and just start pacing all over the place. And Connor's like, oh my God. And I'm like, where are you going? Where are you going? And Chandler's like, I got to call my dad. And you find out that you're headed to Toronto and you're like, oh man, I'm going to Toronto. And you're like, oh my God, Lulu Amarillo is going to call me. Oh my God. So I called our family. Our family was on vacation together in Mexico. And I was like, okay, this is my one phone call. I'll give you guys an update, whatever. Ended up being super exciting. You're supposed to report to the Toronto Marlies. So we went and said goodbye to everyone.
It was a Sunday night that I got traded. Mm-hmm. Yes. And I was going to fly out on Monday.
I think you were actually going to fly out on Tuesday.
No, I was going to fly out on Monday because Tuesday morning, it was the school. It was like a kid's game. It was a 10 a.m. Marlies game. And I remember. So I was supposed to fly out at like, I don't know, midday, 1 p.m., in Hershey to fly out to Toronto. And I end up going home that night. I got traded. And I ended up packing until like 2 or 3 in the morning.
Because I didn't live there. And I had no desire to go back there if you weren't there. And I worked full time. So we packed till 3 a.m. We were like, okay, we have time. Like, let's go to bed. And I wake up the next morning. I don't know what time. I look at my phone and I have all these missed phone calls. And I'm getting a call from Toronto, Ontario. And I'm like, I don't know anyone there. So I answer the phone and they're like, hi, is this Alexandra? And I was like, hello, yeah. It was someone for the Leafs calling to say that Connor was actually going to play that night for the Leafs. And he had to get to Philadelphia airport ASAP. I woke him up. We drove. I think I drove 9 hours that day.
Because you drove me all the way to Philly, which was what,
Hershey
an hour and a half?
Philly, back to Hershey, then to Washington, D.C. Yeah.
Yeah, because we had packed my car up and you just drove my car there and we figured we'll get it when we need it.
We'll figure it out. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because I had my car in Hershey too. Fun times.
Yeah, I got in a fight that night against Tampa Bay. Played decently well. I remember the first period, I felt exhausted. The second period, I felt like I had pretty good legs. The third period, I felt exhausted again.
4 games in 4 days.
Yeah, I think it was. It might have been 3 and 4. I can't remember. I feel like it was a Thursday, Friday in Toronto game, and then Sunday, but that's still a lot of hockey.
Yeah. And then you ended up playing the Caps Monday. Right after that.
Yes. Yeah, because we came right back to D.C., I remember.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I didn't go that long without seeing you.
So in terms of what did we learn about ourselves in that process? Like, because that type of strain can be really tough for a couple, and we had to leave. You know, we've talked about it. You have all these big dreams and these close friends that you love and cherish, and you do tell yourself that story where I wanted to be a Washington Capital forever. That was what I wanted to do. And then all of a sudden that reality is over, like that. And you've got to go try and build new dreams and meet new people. What's that like on the other side of it? Because I'm thrust into a whole new situation where I'm trying to meet, coaches. I'm trying to understand the systems right away. It's almost like you just get tunnel vision on what's important now. And for me, that was my play because, I wanted to show well. I knew in Toronto in particular, with the Leafs, I was going to get a chance down the stretch, which I did. And then I was really excited to get a chance with the Toronto Marlies and have the playoff run that we did. I kind of knew there was like an onslaught of draft picks coming, but there was a little bit of a hole in their lineup on the back end for the time being. And that if I could run away with it that time, I could finally start to grow myself as an NHLer. And, when you think of us though, like what is your side of that trade story after that?
That was really exciting though. Everything was really exciting because I'd never been to Canada. I was so excited for you to get a chance. Everyone was telling me the Leafs are the place, like they're changing, they're rebuilding. This is going to be unbelievable. I had no idea how big hockey was there. I had no idea. And I immediately got into like, okay, what's next for me? And I had anxiety going into that trade deadline, feeling like something was going to happen. And I had just worked my way up to get on the floor at a salon. I was making good money. I was busy. It was amazing. But I didn't want to let that go. But at the same time, it was like this was our first opportunity to experience something together and to move and, just change. So what I did is I ended up keeping my job, and then I went back once a month ended up being 2 years, 2.5 years. So I sort of figured out a healthy balance between, okay, how can I keep the old and like the part of me that feels purpose, but how can I also be a part of this new adventure? Because we had learned, our first year being called up with the Caps and being down in Hershey, it was really hard to make friends when you're not there in the beginning of the season, when everyone's meeting each other. Relationships start to develop immediately. So it was exciting to be able to go to Toronto and be there with a bunch of new people who were also there. And it was fun. Made a lot of friends there.
Yeah, we did. We had a great time. So we did. I think there was just a conversation too between both of us that when I was moved to Toronto, I was going to, it was sort of implied, but I was going to ask you to move there, because we were very serious at the time and
not engaged.
And
my older clients did not like that.
Well, I mean,
you're moving to another country.
We did have conversations though around what our commitment level was. And I think
we had those conversations back before I even moved to Washington, DC.
I just feel we're very committed people where it was very organic. It wasn't some big step.
Yeah.
I think we knew we were, very serious.
It was like, hey, we're serious, like financially, this is going to be a serious commitment and with our jobs and stuff. But it wasn't like, hey, let's get married tomorrow.
So fast forward, a couple of years, that's really where my NHL career grew, was in Toronto. I was in the lineup a lot that first year, not as much the second year. Kind of fell out after, I think it was in February of 2017 or 2018. I got hurt with a shoulder injury and kind of couldn't get back to the ice time I had prior to the injury, and then prior to the first round exit to Washington. The next year, I remember Roman Polak had come back off his injury and we'd signed him right away, and that was kind of a tough sign for my well-being as a Leaf. And really from there on out, it was just playing the best I could every day to extend our life there, or possibly extend our life in the NHL. And then eventually we do get moved at the next training camp. So the one to Dallas, I think both trades were really, every time I've been traded has been welcome, because they meant steps for me. They meant career opportunities. But the trade to Dallas was a little different in that, I don't remember really knowing anybody on the team, before we got there. I kind of got hurt right away. There was a little bit of if I had to admit, a little bit of a low point for both of us.
Yeah, going to Dallas was hard. We got traded 2 days before the season started. And it was like, hurry up, find a place to live. And to be frank, we were coming from an organization that has so many people that work for it, and there's a job for everyone in Toronto. So going from there to Dallas, it was kind of hard. Like, who do we contact about needing movers? What do we do? Like, just logistically, it was hard. And, we had to move hotels like halfway through and then find a place to live. It was just a lot.
It also rained every day for like a month when we were there.
Yeah. And it was hard to figure everything out. We didn't know where to live. We weren't sure. And it was, not the easiest. And then after, you got hurt too.
That's what was the hardest part for me, was I felt like, the year prior in Toronto, I'd put together some good hockey. The team was doing well actually with me in the lineup, couldn't stay in. Didn't get a look in that playoff run where we lost to Boston. Kind of knew I wanted, was on my way out there, get moved to Dallas, play really well at first. I'm playing with Miro Heiskanen, who's gone on to, be an all-star and was doing well. Played a bunch of minutes. I, and then ended up, in Detroit. We're on the road. I take a slap shot. It was my last shift of the first period. one-timer from Trevor Daly to the tibia to the inside of my ankle. And, that was it. I think what I missed, 10, 12 weeks.
Yeah, because it took a little while to realize the extent of the
I think that was the hardest part for me was just how
happen.
excited I was to be there. And how well I felt I was playing. I think I played 20 minutes the night because I played the rest of that game with the ankle. I think I played like 20 minutes that night still, and I wasn't playing all that well because I wasn't moving great. But just kind of showed the opportunity I was going to get. And those are hard to come by, in the NHL. So I guess I was just thrilled to have it. But we've made this joke now a couple times, like COVID and quarantine wasn't all that different than when I broke my leg in Dallas. Like it was just a lot of us time.
That's the thing that people don't understand when you get injured is that you're not going on the road. So it was you and I in Dallas, and we didn't know anyone. We were just hanging out. We were cooking. We had a beautiful apartment there, and the weather was usually nice for the most part. Yeah. But
beautiful sunsets.
When you have a broken leg, you can't move around.
Yeah, you can't do that much.
As much as normal. But yeah, that was a long time for us without any friends or anything.
So then we can talk now about New Jersey, where we've been now. This will be our third season, second full once it begins. We do get moved, deadline to go to New Jersey. How has New Jersey been for us? How do you like it here?
I love it here. I think I thrive in cities, in big cities.
What is it, the energy or the people? Is it
just being able to walk outside your house and just go wherever? First of all, playing on the East Coast is so nice because, the Rangers are right here. The Islanders are right there. Phillies, so close. Boston, so close. So the travel schedule is really nice. The Rock is cool. I think it's really cool. They have fried Oreos. That's nice.
Not a big deal.
I actually haven't had them, but I found that out.
Yeah, okay.
I swear to God, there's a place called the Boardwalk, and I went there for a corn dog one time.
All right.
But yeah, I really like New Jersey. We live in Hoboken. I think it's the cutest place I've ever lived. So many small businesses. People just seem super respectful, really make sure they take care of their neighbors.
Great sense of community, yeah.
Yeah.
Compost?
Free composting, which is amazing. I really like it here.
Yeah, I love it here in New Jersey. I'm hoping we get to start a season soon and get to meet some of our teammates and start competing in camp and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So you did mention earlier I wanted to follow up on how important it is to have people who understand when you're talking about, sort of the ebbs and flows of hockey, because it is such a unique lifestyle that's really hard to capture if you're not in it. When you talk to some of the other wives or girlfriends, they can be role models for you, they can be close friends, but what do they mean to you as supporters in your journey and alongside my journey?
I think just someone who can listen and understand what you're going through, because family wants to help always, friends want to help you, but it's really hard for people. And we saw this, especially with the bubble. It's really hard for people to have empathy when they see the large number that is an athlete's salary. And while to some extent I understand, but it doesn't make all the problems go away. And there are whole families that have to move. There are people that, let's take your teammate, for example, Corey Schneider, who was an absolute total class act last season. He has a family, he has 2 kids, and, his wife Jill was amazing. Just supportive the whole way through. And you just, having someone who you can call up and be like, or just a little text that says hey, so sorry to see so-and-so got injured, or that Connor got injured. We're thinking about you. Hope it's not as bad. Or, hey, I saw you had to go down on a conditioning stint. Are you going to go there? Are you going to report? How does that work? Just having people check in and knowing that it's hard, especially with a trade. You have to walk into a new room and you have to meet a ton of new people. And you don't necessarily know who is family and who is not. You're just thrown in and you got to figure out, are you related? Are you related? Who do I need to talk to? Who do I need to introduce myself to? So having just that person to go to that can understand what you're going through.
Well, and socially, like, what have you learned about? Because there are some demanding social circumstances that you're thrown into in this game. Because I think about it the same way, where you're going to a new locker room. You want to earn the respect of your teammates. You want to earn the respect of your coach, and you want everyone to know that they can count on you, and also not being a stiff. And you want to be funny and being able to get along with the guys, but they don't know your personality yet. And I guess I'll go first. Like what I've really learned about myself was everyone around me will feel more ease when I am at ease with myself. Like it's kind of I give permission to others to sort of relax when I relax. And I think that, the sooner I present, my quirks and my oddities, the better we can move forward with like a true, honest relationship with my teammates. It's been something that I've learned each time I've gotten moved now, that it's a lot more easy, for me to do.
I think on the other side of that, people's stories, whereas when I walk into the family room,
that's a good point.
I have no idea who is the top player's significant other or the player that's been here for 15 years or, you don't know any of those things. So you just want to make sure you're being respectful to everyone and just trying to get to know everyone, especially when you're traded at the deadline. This is going to sound brutal, but like a lot of times people aren't looking to make new friends. And you also don't know like who was just called up, who's also in the same situation as you. So you want to give them grace as well. You don't want to be like, oh, they didn't say hi to me, because they might not know who you are either. So that's difficult, but I agree that just trying to be yourself and just try to be kind. Like when we were the only people to get traded to New Jersey that season. And there were a lot of people who were called up, and I talked to a lot of the significant others at the call-ups, and I remember being in that situation and not knowing who's who and not knowing who I should talk to, who I shouldn't talk to, what I should say, what I shouldn't say. So I just always want to be welcoming and be the kind of person that I want to meet when I get traded, because it's scary. It's scary. And in other careers, you don't necessarily have to be friends with your significant other's coworkers.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So that's where it's different. But I will say usually everyone is so kind and so nice, and you end up having great relationships.
Well, I think I really loved the point where you said you want to be the person that you wish was in the room every time that you got moved. And I think that, that's just the empathetic side of you, where you really do understand that little things are big things, and that you really can go a long way just extending, a warm hello.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially when, there's a group of people that have been together for a long time. Like our second year in Toronto, we had such a good group of people, but there were also new people who came into the mix, and we wanted to make sure we opened up to them with open arms. But it's not something that you're always aware of. So being conscious of that and just trying to be friendly and be nice.
So to transition, we did just announce our pregnancy, and we're thrilled but nervous, of course. What kind of family are we? What are we going to try to teach our child? What have we learned from this hockey world that we're going to try to bring as parents?
I definitely think we've learned flexibility. We've learned a little bit of minimalism, which I'm hoping to bring into parenthood as much as possible.
If my mother-in-law keeps buying baby outfits, I think we'll have a tough time.
I'm okay with outfits to some extent, because I do know that like there's a lot that happens, but I just don't want every toy, gadget, gizmo, especially in the beginning. You don't need it.
Well, I got enough of that stuff too from all my sports science lab stuff that I own.
Oh, so much stuff. What else? I'm excited for our child to see you and experience the hockey part. I think we've had this conversation for a while that, is it Derek Jeter had a child after playing?
I don't know who you're trying to reference. It might be.
They had a child after playing, and then you were like, they'll never know how cool their dad is. Like they never got to witness how unbelievable he is.
In real time, yeah.
Yeah, and I just think that that's really cool to be a part of that and to see all the kids playing. That's really fun.
I
don't know how many kids will be here this year, but
I think that's what I'm most excited about, like the idea of bringing our child down to the locker room to, see the guys or get a broken stick that's been cut down or the warm up. Yeah, the warm up wave. And
yeah,
I think hockey is such a big part of who I am that I do feel, I can't say I was always as open-minded about having a child during my playing career just because I'm so focused on that and I know how much time and attention it takes. But I love hockey and I know I'll love our child, and there's no scarcity of love. Like I'll find a way to give more, and I think I'm really excited at the timing of where we're at in our life. I think we're ready.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure you're ever ready.
We'll see how this ages. I purposely quoted, I think we're ready, just so I can play this back when we're screaming one day,
I'm not sure you're ever really ready, but
ready.
I also think it's a situation where after it happens, you're just so thrilled that it's possible you could be like, how was I living without this human earlier?
I think one of my first thoughts
they're moving
after
so much.
you told me you were pregnant.
People want to know. That was the question I got. How you found out. And it's so lame. It was really lame, guys. Connor was on the phone with someone and I took the test and I had taken one before and it was negative. And then I was like, I'm going to take another one. Connor was on the phone blabbing away.
Talk.
And I was avoiding him as much as possible. And then he got off the phone and I just sat next to him and I was like, I'm pregnant. And he's like, are you serious? Stop, you're joking. You're joking. It took you a long time to realize I was serious. And that's not a funny joke.
Well, I don't know. I wouldn't put it past you.
I didn't have
I don't know how else to put that.
I didn't have time to think of something. I was too shocked and too stunned. Yeah. So
I think I was stunned. Like
it was kind of boring.
My first thought, one of my first thoughts, I wouldn't say my first thought. One of my first thoughts was like exhale. You know what I'm passionate. Like I'm a passionate guy. Like I'm really excited about really everything, but I get excited about a lot and I want to dive all in, whatever it is, whether it's coffee or hockey or a new training modality, a new sports science tool that I've learned, a new supplement I've been introduced to. I can be, pretty obsessive and curious. And I think that I kind of exhaled and was like, oh my God, I'm going to make room now for the greatest challenge that I have coming my way. And I don't think there's any point you arrive as a parent to be, or even as a parent when we do become parents. I don't think you ever arrive as a successful parent or an all-knowing or perfect parent. I don't think that's a thing. But I love education, and I think that experience can be learned from. And I know there's a lot of parents out there that can share what they know and love about their relationship with their child, and I'm trying to learn from that. And I think culturally, I'm trying to learn from other cultures. We're both American, from Orland Park, Illinois. We went to the same high school. Trying to, I guess, broaden our horizons and be aware of just different. We've talked about everything from how we want to feed our child to disciplining techniques, and that kind of thing. I just think I'm so excited about that, a new lane of my life that I can pour myself into from an education and a passion standpoint. And I can't wait to be a father.
Yeah, I'm so excited for the little things, like going for walks on days off, or the little moments, and the big moments like Disney. But I'm not sure with COVID when that will be. That'll be happening.
I always promised you that I become more of a Disneyland goer when
I love it. Disney World.
Disney World, sorry. See?
Disney World is in Florida.
So we'll have to go soon, hopefully. I mean, come on, COVID can't last forever.
Well, you also want to take your kids at an age that they can enjoy it as well.
Right. So what is that? 3
I don't know
at
yet.
least?
We got to ask around.
I can't tell the difference between toddlers and infants.
The Marlows will know.
Yeah.
They're big Disney people.
We'll have to hit them up. How many kids do we want? That was a question I had that came up on the Instagram post. How many kids do we want?
I personally think I want 2, but I think that would change if I had the same sex.
Like if you had 2 boys or 2 girls? Mm-hmm. I always felt like 3 or 4 just because I went off the concept. Well, to be fair, I don't carry the child. So whatever you want, that's so
4,
it goes.
that's like just so many more than you.
But when
than
I
you
think
and
of it, people tell me that they love...
What kind of car do you have to get?
Minivan. I'll get you a minivan. When I think
We'll
of...
see about that.
When I think of...
Keep you posted.
People say that you love your child more than you love your dog. And like, I just can't. I don't know. I love Hoagie so much when he's not barking during our podcast that...
He really is such a good dog.
If I
he
could,
just hasn't shown it.
I would have
24 hours.
I would have 10.
10
I would have 10
children.
French bulldogs if I could.
Oh, 10 French bulldogs. Yeah. But then you couldn't give the equal amount of love.
Do you have to give equal?
I mean, yeah.
I guess.
At least try.
I guess.
Can't pick favorites.
Is it hard for us to be apart as often as we are during the season? Like, what goes through your mind?
I love it.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
You get used to it. It's nice because you get into your own routine. That is, and that's, again, the hardest thing about injury is like there's so much togetherness. Like you were like, okay, what are we doing today? And I was like, whoa, I'm leaving the house. I'm going to work out. Like I'm going to do my thing. You need to figure out what you're doing. Sit on the couch and lay here and... Yeah. No, it's nice. The longer road trips are harder, and I definitely think it'll be harder with kids, just because there's more emotions involved, more work involved. But I actually think it's nice, like having that time away to like be yourself and figure it out. But yeah, I don't know.
I think the same. I think, and the other side of the coin is we do get summers off.
That's the thing,
which is
too.
awesome. You know, that might be, you know, for some guys that are, you know, big golfers and travelers and things like that. Like, it's really nice to have that time to rebuild your body and be with family and the weather. We live in Chicago in the summer. Like, the weather's beautiful. You know, go to a Cub game. You know, go out to some nice meals and things like that. So they're, you know, both sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. You're going to have the long, grueling season, which I love the test of. I don't know. I guess I always felt that this is what I signed up for. There's certainly certain road trips that, you know, present difficulties year in, year out, you know, where you're either playing particularly tough teams or the travel schedule sucks.
I'd say the time that it's the hardest would be when a player gets traded and his family decides not to go with, which is almost the case usually.
Yeah, because you got to pull the kids out of school.
You got to pull the kids out of school. You have to move, and like the significant other is left to pick up the pieces and figure it out. Like, okay, how are we moving home? Especially if there's kids involved. There's a lot of logistical things, and that can be difficult. And then now, what we saw with the bubble, I think that would be really difficult, especially with young kids because they change so much in that time frame.
Yeah, for new dads that were away. Yeah. So, what are some of your favorite parts, though, when you think back over the course of our career? What are some of your favorite experiences? They can be socially, they can be at games, something I did. I have a couple that come to mind, but
I thought it was fun when you were in the AHL All-Star games.
Yeah.
Not that like I went for one.
The one in Syracuse, yeah.
Yeah, just seeing that happen.
I loved my time in the American League. Like, I had so much fun. I was just texting...
The Marlies playoffs.
I was just texting old friends. I was texting, like, Liam O'Brien, a picture of us in a fight together in Chandler where, you know, for all the players that just got drafted, if you're listening to this, like, you know, some of the players that you meet today, you know, might be some of the closest friends that you'll have for life. And that's what really I got out of my Hershey Bear experience. Was I loved it. I was a 2-time AHL All-Star. We had good teams, we had good power plays, we had packed stands, and I think that's what, you know, minor league hockey should be. And I don't know, you build great friendships riding the buses and eating pizza after the game.
Usually there's not much going on in those towns, so the team is close and everyone gets together. What else? When you were playing for the Marlies in the playoffs, watching from afar on my laptop, I remember screaming at it and then being like, oh my gosh, I'm so loud. Like the neighbors are going to call on me, ask if I'm okay. Seeing you like score your first few goals, like with certain teams.
The first goal was a level of elation that I hope everyone gets to experience.
Well, and like when you scored your first goal with
life.
Toronto, when you scored your first goal with Dallas, like that's just really exciting. The outdoor game was awesome.
The outdoor game was special.
That was fun. I loved the people in Toronto and just how close everyone lived because we'd always go out to dinner after the games. That was fun. What else? Wow, I feel like we've been doing this for so long now.
It's my
crazy.
8th year next year.
It's crazy.
Be my 8th year. Yeah, I'd say the outdoor game. I think particularly just the family we were able to have come in.
Just the whole experience
played well
was
that
wild.
game.
The weather was somewhat nice.
Yeah. We were up in a hotel the night before. Like it just felt like a big deal. Felt like showtime. Like it felt like, under the lights, like we dream about as a kid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Plus the ice was spectacular. Like way better than most NHL rinks, which for whatever reason.
Oh, I have another memory when I hosted that surprise dinner when you signed your first NHL contract, with the Leafs, like your NHL contract. That was really fun. Yeah.
That was my first one way.
That was awesome. And just, the different phone calls you've gotten that are like exciting or witnessing World Junior. I had no idea how important that was, but that was fun.
To be fair, neither did I. Like it's just not as big a thing in the United States, and hopefully that's changing. And I think it is. But when that World Junior, that was a huge goal of mine. I remember when I was at the U.S. development team, I'd watch those guys as early as when John Carlson was pulling the no-look 2-on-1 game winner, and that was a huge career goal of mine that I was super proud of to go. I remember Mike Havlin was my Hershey Bear coach at the time, and he pulled me in his office to say, Connor, I think the Capitals are going to give permission for you. You've been invited to go to, there was like a pre-camp tryout where they figure out the last couple slots in Minnesota prior to going over to Sweden to Malmo. And I remember he talked to me where he's like, I think we're comfortable with you going. Are you comfortable with going? And I was still so focused on like making it and staying in the NHL. I was like, Javi, like I'm willing to stay here if that's what this team needs. Because I really didn't know how to handle the situation. He laughed at me. He laughed me out of the room. Was like, Connor, like this is a special opportunity to represent your country. Am I putting you to sleep?
No, sorry.
She's sick of my shit already. But I just figured he laughed me out of the room. Was like, Connor, you got to go. It's an opportunity to represent your country, and I had a blast. I loved it, except for the fact in Sweden at that time it like. The sun came up, I felt like at noon. It went down at 3 for like a month.
Yeah.
It's bizarre.
The teddy bear toss too.
In Hershey?
Yeah. No one tells you that hurts. You're standing there and you're getting pelted in the back of the head with teddy bears, and they sound soft and gushy and whatever, but they're not.
Maybe get hit by the eyeballs. That's not cool.
Oh, that hurts. Hurts.
So if we call it, my goal is to play 20 years, and I'm not super bashful about that. I want to play as long as I can in the NHL, and if not by the end of the time, pro hockey. So we're getting close to what might be the halfway point of my career, and time will tell if where I'm at on that spectrum. But what goals do you have for us personally now for the second half of this? As my goal, I know for sure, like I've talked about it, there's a cutoff in pro hockey. I feel like the age is 25. If you're under 25, you're young. If you're over 25, you're old. So I know for me personally, like trying to be, more of a leader and stepping into, a more confidence there doing that. What are some goals that you have for us in what'll be, the second half of this whole dance?
While I wouldn't mind not having consistency, I think having consistency would be nice to sort of form a room that we like to be a part of, because we've seen how amazing it is when that happens, and be leaders, like welcoming people to the team. Like we said, creating that environment, because when it's good, you win. And that's like, I firmly believe that. And I think just being able to kind of see a little bit farther out. Everyone always asks, like, how will you know when you're not going to be traded? And it's like, that doesn't really exist. But if
Even
we could,
Gretzky
like,
got traded, guys. So
yeah, like that's not a thing. But just kind of like being able to envision a house, or like have our kids in school where they have friends would be nice. But or in another outdoor game, I would love that.
I would love that.
I'd love that.
Hopefully Gary Bettman's watching this. Gives Jersey an outdoor game.
Yeah. So many teams and so many rivalries around here.
That's a good point. See, there's your pitch.
Totally.
Devils Rangers, Devils Islanders.
Yeah.
I could see it. How have you been able to engage with your support system during COVID, despite the pregnancy? That was a question we had from Instagram.
Oh man, that was hard because we didn't really tell people we were pregnant for a long time. We did slowly, but we didn't announce on social media until I was 20 weeks. I'd say COVID is just in general difficult. No one knows what's happening. There are many, many opinions about it. I think just trying to reach out to people and see how they're doing so then I can have that conversation, or just check in with people and stay on top of it, whether it's like one friend a day or so many friends a week, checking in on them, because I think to some extent we're all sort of feeling ugh.
Yeah, just isolated. And I think missing some of the regular social touches that are holding the door open for someone at a coffee shop,
Totally.
or, interacting with a pleasant, barista or whatever who, was excited to see you, at the beginning of your day.
Mm-hmm.
I think some of that normalcy, everyone's looking forward to coming back.
Yeah, I miss in-person workout classes a lot.
I was really happy to be able to come to our anatomy, what do they call it? The
Anatomy scan.
ultrasound.
Yeah, the anatomy scan, they call it. That was really nice because in Chicago, you weren't able to come with me to any of my appointments, which makes it feel so less real because you're just
For me too.
You're just like internalizing all these thoughts and feelings instead of like talking about them out loud, and just like being where we think we're going to deliver the baby helps as well. It's been crazy to see the differences between states, between Illinois and Chicago and Hoboken and New Jersey.
Just how they're handling it, you mean?
Mm-hmm. And being pregnant, I feel like I have to be careful. I'm not just worrying about myself anymore.
Well, that's what you were told, right? Medically, that was the best advice. Questions-wise for me with this podcast, do you have any questions for me on
Who would be your dream guest?
Who've been my dream guest? Oh gosh, I've already had some of them on. I think I would really like to connect with some teammates. There's just things you cover in an hour-long conversation where there's no interruption. You're not eating. There's no dog barking aside from ours. You're really able to sit and get to know someone's story. So, I'd love to have really all my teammates, whoever's comfortable. I get, hockey's usually pretty close to the vest sort of culture, and not everyone's, comfortable with sharing their, their personal life and their ups and downs. And I get that. There's a level of vulnerability to this. Trying to think.
I also think it's hard just because guys are typically guarded.
Yeah.
The classic hockey interview. But when you could sit down and have a face-to-face conversation, you can really pull and pluck things out of a professional athlete's life that you're like, wow, I can relate to that. So,
yeah.
And like, I can say they're pretty normal.
Yeah.
Pretty normal people. Even
like,
the biggest of dogs.
Yeah, I'd say even like, for example, the Kevin Rooney podcast where he talks about how key, playing against Jack Eichel was for his career, and how Ray Shero told him that moment. Like, I think that's, super cool. The moment, oh God, what's his name?
Oh, I remember when you played
in Washington, Don Fishman, when he gave me a picture of literally the moment of my NHL career's birth. Don Fishman was the assistant GM in Washington, and he gave me like this manila folder one day after I think it was the following summer, actually. It was like a summer skate. And in it just had a picture printed out from like a cell phone. And he took a picture of the whiteboard. Every GM has these whiteboards where they have like the depth chart of their team and every other team. So they kind of keep a pulse on the league, and they have these magnets, right? So it'd say, Backstrom, Ovechkin, Wilson, whoever else was on the team at that time. And you'd have these, magnetic names. And then he told me this was the exact moment that I made the NHL, where George McPhee had texted him a picture that he took from his phone and said, like, quote, "Can we do this?" ? And my name was written in because I had just signed during training camp. I didn't have a magnet yet. And it's kind of cool to know the exact moment that, my career started. And every player has those stories. So definitely
I have two of those for you.
What's another one?
When you called me up and you're like, "I shook Mike Green's hand today." He
Green
has
is
tattoos.
the coolest. Hey, congrats on your retirement, Mike Green.
Hands.
You're a legend. 30 tucks as a D-man in the modern game. The white Reeboks.
You were so excited, and then you were playing on the team.
Stealth CNT stick. He was cooler than cool.
Yeah, and then you were playing on the same team as him. And then your first game against the Chicago Blackhawks, Jonathan Toews, you were like, what do you call it when you like have to cover? Like you were covering Jonathan Toews? Is that what you call it? And you made that your phone lock screen.
Yeah, I did. Me playing against Taser was... Yeah, we actually worked out a bit together. I didn't bring that up. I should have embarrassed myself and told him. Yeah, it's a good memory.
Yeah.
That was my screensaver.
For a long time.
Yeah, that's not narcissistic at all that I'm my own background, but I thought it was cool.
More so the fact I think that you were
that I was
playing
against him.
Yeah, we have a few stories like that.
I'd say I have some other, I would love to have, any hockey greats, like anyone from Chris Chelios to Wayne Gretzky, Scott Stevens, some of the Devils greats I'm going to try to ask, around here. I'm really looking forward to actually, Bryce Salvador is someone that I've talked to a little bit, just from being around the rink. I really look up to him as a former captain, and some of the stories that he shared, with the Players Tribune and his vestibular injury. I'd love to talk to him. Another one I'm going to have on soon, Archangel Summit, founder Giovanni Marsico. He's been, a bit of a mentor for me, and, I guess the life space, if you want to call it, he's a special person. And to me, I'd love to do a podcast with my dad. We didn't do it before we left, for, the season, but I would really like to see.
Maybe you can get Adam Oates on here.
Him, I'll try and bug Adam Oates to see if I can get him on. I think the problem if we get Oatesy on, will be getting the podcast to end. He's got so many stories and it'll just go on forever. And I'm trying to think of who else. Gary Vaynerchuk, I've been trying to get him on. And by trying, I haven't asked him yet. I've been trying to get big enough so that when I ask him, it's a for sure yes. Joe Rogan's like the king of them. I think he'd be, beyond interesting to have on. Tim Ferriss would be awesome.
Yeah,
I got a whole list on my phone, a little dream list. That's what I think is super fun about the podcast is it can be anything. You can talk to anybody at any time and really that sense of curiosity that, I've tried to, really own here with this podcast. You can.
Absolutely.
And what's cool is people actually care. Like they really do pick up the phone and schedule time for these things. They really do enjoy being on them.
Oh, yeah. Well, and I just think the quality of conversation is great.
It always is. And you know what I find with the podcast though, even with ours today, it takes a little bit of time to find that flow. Mm-hmm. And once you start to get into a flow, everyone's shoulders kind of come down, their voice starts to sound more like themselves, and bang, the microphone, the camera kind of goes away and people really settle into their story. My job is just to find questions that cheat that system and get it going earlier, but it's tough.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what's fun about this art, right? Who's to say one style is better than the other?
No one.
I want to thank you too for supporting me and all this.
You're
I don't want
welcome.
this whole podcast to go through without.
You mean my lovely decor? That boom that's attached to the kitchen table?
Yeah, it comes with the territory and my hockey sticks that are all over the closet and my supplements that are in the cabinet. I definitely, my personal life bleeds into every other aspect of our life, but
yep. We're still working on that minimalist part.
I think we'll always will be.
Yeah, I think so too.
But I wanted to end the podcast, I guess, with, thank you for...
Did you want to look at questions?
Yeah. I was going to say that I wanted to end the podcast with saying that I love you and that I'm grateful for
I love you too.
our relationship together, but we'll look at questions first on Instagram. Let's see here. Do you have any? Oh, I screwed
Someone
up.
said, what's your favorite dish that Lexi cooks?
Short rib ragu. Rolls right off the tongue.
Thanks,
Ronnie Primal Gourmet Lvovsky. I hope that's how you say Lvovsky. It's my favorite.
Then someone said, what's your favorite proudest moment?
I've said this story, proudest moment. I'll think about that.
Well, no, they were asking me for you.
Oh, well, you prompted it as if. Go ahead. What is your proudest moment?
I feel like I've said that already. When probably when you were playing with the Marlies and you had 18 goals. You were the highest scoring.
18 goals? No.
18 points.
I think I had 18 points. I did have a 5-point game.
You were the highest scoring player in the AHL for a while.
For the playoffs. Yeah, that was special. That was special because I knew that I was getting really close to a serious goal that I had, that was to put myself in a position to make the Leafs out of training camp the next season.
You were having so much fun, too.
Oh, God.
And I remember not being there, and I was like, maybe I'm bad luck.
No. I just got to get that scoring touch going again this year, and we'll be able to prove that theory wrong. Let's see. Are you pleased with your new place as much as your place in Chicago? I think we like this place better.
They're different. One was a home and one is an apartment. But yeah, we made sure that we loved our place that we were going to rent this year because of COVID, not knowing about the season, and the baby.
I have a question. Have we made up plans and tips on how you'll deal with the lack of sleep when the baby comes? I'm trying to talk you into a new column. It's free advertising for new column.
We plan to have family out. I have a feeling that I will be the one waking up. I hope to breastfeed.
What's the book I'm reading about?
I hope to
French
breastfeed.
parenting and the culture around sleep training and how it's different?
That's not right in the beginning. Right in the beginning.
No, not right in the beginning. That's a good point.
But yeah, I plan to lean on our loved ones. And we'll see if you're here, you're not here, or whatever. Try my best.
Hopefully it's at least a blend of both.
I'm also going to batch a bunch of food. I'm very picky. I really like to cook my own food. So I'm going to cook a bunch of food and keep it in the freezer, hopefully save some time.
Maybe we'll just hire Ronnie to live in as a live-in chef. Ronnie, are you taking the offers?
Oh my gosh. Paleo fried chicken, please.
How do we meet?
Oh, this is cute. We met originally at Sandbox Preschool in Orland Park. Although we do not remember, there are a few pictures of us together, like just the two of us. So your mom believes that you had a crush on me and said that I had beautiful hair.
We got to go with that story.
I mean, I do.
You do have beautiful hair.
But we met in high school. It was technically a graduation party, but you don't remember. So.
Well, I remember
at
this graduation party,
together.
I had what would be considered a grade school ex-girlfriend that I was trying to avoid. So,
But we met in high school, and then we
Spanish class, right, Miss Vanderwood?
Miss Vanderwood. Mm-hmm. And she'd always say, "Call me when you guys get married." So I included her in our wedding vows. And then we didn't start dating until after high school.
No.
And I'll say it now, and I will say it again, and I will forever say it. I am so glad we did not date in high school.
We weren't ready. We weren't ready.
No, I needed to do my own thing. So.
Here, I have one here.
Oh, he's
what do you
back.
think your spouse would say is your most annoying trait? What are you most annoying about me?
No, I have to guess what you would say. You would say about me that I talk too much before bed.
Yeah, sometimes you do that. I started to do this. I read about how, what was it called? The Oxygen Advantage was the name of the book, but the importance of nasal breathing while you're really living at all, but sleeping in particular. So I started to do this mouth tape, and I think that's my secret. I think I'm going to get us both on the mouth tape again.
Yep.
Because we kind of
I haven't done it
fell
much.
out of it. It works.
What would be mine about you?
I would say when I become, either when I say I will do something when I'm in the middle of something else and I lose track of space, time, everything,
That's
and
only
I
because
forget.
this is a time sensitive one.
What do you mean?
Because that happened recently. That's why you're saying it.
Yeah, but it happens more than I would like, I would say. Well, what would you say then?
I would say that you think you say things out loud. You have so many internal thoughts, and I do not. Like, we are completely opposite in that. You like are constantly thinking, and you'll be like, I said that. And I'm like, you haven't spoken in 10 minutes. You did not say that out loud.
Gaslighting 101. You just die with the lie.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for when I
Or
do
the
that.
fact that you forget where you're driving a lot.
I'm a terrible driver. Like directionally, I'm terrible. But that's what I don't know. I don't have a need for it. I feel like with navigation, I just punch and go.
Someone said, you guys have an awesome marriage. What's the key? I would say, well, I shared something about this recently. If you guys don't follow the holistic psychologist, she posted something about like relationship goals. And first of all, I think it's really important to not have like relationships that you look up to that are like celebrities or that you don't know personally, because a picture on Instagram can totally not capture the photo of what's really going on. And I just think it's important to have communication and respect. I'd say our strongest thing that we have is communication. We really try to like cut out the drama of things and be like, this is actually what's bothering me when it happens. But that's not to say we don't.
It's a big
have
one. I say
anything.
we're getting better at communicating what we want, both like short, medium, and long term. That's as simple as actually just saying what you want for dinner or out of a vacation, because it gives your partner an opportunity to actually be successful and give you what you want and go along. Otherwise, your partner's left in this space where they're just trying to guess and mind read for the other person. I would say the growth mindset one is really important for me. I don't know. I think together we both have an affinity and a love for learning, and that is what I think is my purpose here on earth. And I think that
And asking
as
for
a
support
partner-
during that process.
yeah,
Like, hey, I'm trying to eat healthy right now. Do you mind supporting me in that? Can we have some healthier meals? Or, hey, I'd feel better if we went for a walk after dinner. You know, those are little examples.
yeah, I like that.
You got any more questions?
No, and that's it. Thank you, hon. Dinner time. Let's jam. This podcast obviously was one of my favorites, and really not a podcast that I thought I'd be dreaming of or setting out to have when I first started this endeavor. Was a podcast with my wife, sitting down talking about the ins and outs of our hockey career. I knew we would be talking about that, but particularly about our child to be, our pregnancy. And I want to thank her for all of her time and effort and the blood and the sweat and the tears that goes into our life, my career, and now our pregnancy. And it's the greatest decision I've ever made to, marry her. And I think that I was very grateful that she was able to, spend time with both of us today. So with all of our listeners, though, I do want to highlight 3 points that I thought shined in this podcast. Was one, for our marriage, one of the things that we talked about today was the power of communication, how we've grown in this realm, how it's not something that is always super easy. We have to spell out our thoughts for our partner. I think it's been a great key in our relationship. As we've grown, it's not something we were, as good at earlier on when we first began to date. And then second, one of the things I reflect on now that the podcast is over together, the tough times often become our most favorite stories. And I do feel that the adverse circumstance and the trades and the injuries have been great growth moments for definitely myself, definitely for my career, and for our family as well. And that brings me to my third point is just embrace the fact that, today, the present day will become the stories that we will one day tell. And I think that this thought process keeps you in the day-to-day process, keeps you in the moment that is building your life together, while also having some perspective that today isn't the end all be all. There will be another day in our relationship. There'll be another day of my career. There'll be another day in our life. And there'll always be another opportunity if there's another day to come. So just embrace, no matter what life has to throw at you, it's for you. So thank you to all of our listeners. Please continue to like, subscribe, share with friends and family. This podcast is particularly special for obvious reasons. Interviewing my wife isn't something my pregnant wife isn't something I thought I would be doing here at the beginning of the podcast. But thank you for joining me in my quest to become a more curious competitor. Thank you.